you are. A little loud.
I'll turn mine on.
Okay. Well, turn mine on. We have some problems. Okay. Well, we are here finally, and we want to thank you all for your patience. Sister Tamara and I are embarking on our second segment of Impress Us, and it is our desire to bring the feminine energy to the House of Reawakening Minds. We are always behind the scenes. We are always operating behind the scenes, and so in this particular fourth Friday slot, we are going to try to do whatever we can to make sure that the divine feminine receives preeminence and some prominence in this, not only the Moorish Divine National Movement, but with various other topics. We're talking about metaphysics, we're talking about health, we're talking about, anything that we're talking about movies.
That's right.
Because we love to watch movies and get just to delve deep into the message in the movie. Mm-hmm. So tonight we are happy that you have decided to join us. We do apologize for our tardiness for just coming on. It's not our fault. I'm gonna let Sister Tamara tell you why.
It's not our fault.
Come on, give on, let them know why.
Okay. Well, we had some gentlemen that arrived from the Khalifa territory.
Yes.
They traveled from Khalifa territory and thought that we had lecture class tonight, and was excited about meeting the lecturers that teach at the House of Reawakening Mind. And this journeyman is a wealth of knowledge. It has, can also be a great instrument into helping in, as well as being a part of the work that is moving forth at the House of Reawakening Minds and uplifting fallen humanity. So it was just a great collaborative information that was flowing. So that's the purpose of our delay.
Oh, you know what? I failed to say this. We opened up with the rough cut
Oh, yes.
of our new song, Impress Us, which was written by my spiritual daughter, Maisha Brown. She's the same one who wrote and sings the Reawakening Minds tune, and she wrote the
Let me play it again, because I don't think it was heard when it first started.
Yeah, and it is rough because she's not, I know she probably is like, you're not playing that yet. This is what she...
So here, let
listen.
it go. Yes.
Listen to the words.
Yes, really great. Okay. I think my phone's going there.
Oh, your phone. We didn't get
Yes.
all of it, but that was
We'll
some
have
of
a
it.
final cut come out really soon, once she finished adding the instrumental Impressors intro. So, coming soon.
Yes, coming soon. And you know what I forgot? I forgot to bring my cell phone over here so that I could see if anybody was saying anything on Facebook.
Your phone's right there.
No, that's not my phone. That's the case for that phone right there. But I put it somewhere, I think it's over there, and it probably would be not good for me to walk off the platform, and so hopefully maybe you can bring it up. But listen, we are not going to be before our viewers for long, because we hope to come. We want to come on from about 7:30 to 9 was our original plan, and just talk about some things. But I do want to see whether or not there are any questions or comments that go along that we need to address. But aside from that, we wanted to talk about, we have two subjects mentioned on our post. One was Traitors amongst us.
See if your mic's still working.
It's making crazy sounds. Let's see. Let me see. Talk.
Let's bring it over here.
It's making, no, if I bring it over there, then it sounds worse. Maybe you can pick me up from there. So one was Traitors amongst us, and the other one we were talking about the divine feminine principle. But you brought up the subject matter of Traitors amongst us. I know a lot of things have been going on within the Moorish Development and national movement. Some things in which we, you know, some things are good, but some things not so good.
Well, it's not just the traitors within the Moorish National Divine Movement. It's just not those traitors alone. It's our traitors as a people.
So what do you mean?
Our traitors as a people, as just Asiatics, melanated people. How we are trading. We continue to trade ourselves for our oppressors' benefits, that one see as a gift or benefit, and we would not align ourselves with our sisters and brothers so we can be at a level to say that we are free or we are self-governing under the cloak of our own sovereignty. We will continue, we will not listen to the words of wisdom that comes from, you know, at one point in time in our culture, you know, we will listen to our elders and we will listen to wise words and wisdom that will come forward, and how we question our own, but we take the words of outside of our culture as golden, and to me that's called fool's gold. That's how I look at it. That's my observation.
So when you were talking about traitors,
Mm-hmm.
you have to excuse me, because I corrected it, I thought you were talking about people who are traitors as far as going against our community or their nationality. And you're speaking.
That's one aspect.
But you know, traitors and traitors. There's traitors, which is what, and then there are traders, people who are exchanging.
No, not the exchanging. Traders and traders. It's like saying tomato, tomato. We're saying the same thing. It's an exchange of energy and commerce, which. So I mean, we're talking about traders. It could be our nationality. It could be just in how we do business and how we fellowship amongst one another, come together, you know, in our, I wouldn't say beliefs, I would say more so our spiritual nature, what we call spirituality, just, you know, in those aspects. So I'm speaking from that direction.
Right. We had an experience today that I think, I don't know how you felt about it, but I felt really good about the experience we had today when we met with, you know, the assistant pastor, mm-hmm. and we were looking at the venue for something we're going to be talking about a little bit later. But just the fact that in conversing, we realized that he realized a lot more truths than what we normally hear espoused, say, from the pulpit. You know. In other words,
but see, let's put a pin in that, because you can know of it, you read of it, but the lack of exercising of that truth. Which side? Okay, this is two tables, right? We're sitting at.
Right.
Right. Okay, but you know the truth. Just say the truth is on the right hand side. You know of this truth, but you choose to straddle the fence for gain. Because if you're an assistant pastor, you get the financing to be able to go into those places of assemblies.
Or if you're a pastor.
Or a pastor. You continue to go into those places of assemblies and continue to teach the people doctrines of man that has you up under a yoke of bondage. Whereas you will relegate and take your butt off the fence and be able to teach the people the truth, esoteric, astronomical meaning of it. You're not willing to do that, so that's a traitor.
Okay. All right. I mean, I on the defense of some preachers.
I'm not going to defend them.
Well, I know you don't want to, because you're Tamara the Hammer. So you are Tamara the Hammer. I told you. But at the defense of some preachers,
you can defend if they're ignorant, not knowing. But you can't say, I know of this, Like, we ran into my former, and
Okay.
and I don't even know if you know who my former pastor is, because I never post any pictures of.
This is good.
But if you Google it, who cares?
Yeah.
Okay, my former pastor, you ran into, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so there's conversation of he's aware of certain aspects of truth when it comes to theology, correct?
Correct.
And he's learning those truths in private, right?
Right.
But in public,
They're
it's a whole different story.
esoteric as far as the public is.
In the public, on Sunday, on Wednesday, is the exchanging of the money table. And the nail in the coffin is that I don't know how to incorporate this into the church.
Well, again, as I was saying before,
Trey.
at the defense of some ministers, and I'm putting myself in that position because this is where I was, and this is the only reason why I can speak of this is because this is exactly where I was. When I was doing what I was doing it with sincerity.
No, that's ignorance. That's right.
Well,
ignorant.
ignorant.
No, but ignorant means not knowing.
Okay.
So that means you didn't know of the truth of what you was operating.
Right. I didn't know of the truth.
Right.
Of which I was lacking
Exactly.
in operation in. However, I did know that there were a lot of inconsistencies in the behavior, the esoteric behavior, the hidden or the occult. See, occult means hidden. So the occult behaviors, if you want to be the hidden behaviors or the, behind the scenes. How about that? The behind the scenes behavior level standard. There was a piety that was often presented to the public, but off scene. I mean, I remember succinctly, and I was not in ministry then. I was not in ministry when this happened, but I was in the church, so to speak. And I remember a female minister at the time and had a conversation with me. Now, I'm a member, but I'm fairly close. And this female pastor propositioned me, so to speak. It was it was cloaked in a scripture, but the innuendo was what she could do for me. So I had problems with that. This was years before I even entered the ministry myself. I was actually, like I said, I was a congregant, and it wasn't shortly thereafter that I literally left the church for a while. I left the church, and like many others, the only reason why I ended back in the church was some tragedy. Sometimes, tragedy and hardships befall us, and there's always somebody there to say, you need to go to church, So hence I get back in the church. But the proposition was nonetheless very, very, it was very sexual in nature.
I call them non-seen recruiters now.
No. And what I'm saying is that this was a person who had a position, but yet they and my former pastor were colleagues, friends, and they allowed them to speak to me like this, and it kind of made me feel like, oh my. And eventually, like I said, I completely backed out of the church for a while.
Well, that's like I said, that in essence comes from not knowing the truth. Like I said, ignorance of the truth, but you have a inkling of something is not right. And you haven't tapped into that inkling of something is not right. And you have those that know, they know the truth.
And their behavior, would you say, because I would say, when you went on that line, what you're saying, because they know the truth, they can cross the line because they know that the doctrines that they've been teaching are created by man. And the fears that are instilled in people, if you do this or do that, because if they really believe that this was true, they themselves would be walking the line.
Absolutely.
But because it's not do as I do, but do as I say do, that was the I come to see it after the fact. But the thing of it is, it didn't stop me from feeling as if I was called to come into ministry. And I still believe that I was called to do something leading up to where I am today.
Well, let's look at the grand scale as a whole. You know, why are we looking at the church? And I have air quotes for a reason. Because as you grow in your learning and understanding, the church is the universe. It's the universe in which we live in. So, but however, in the church building, why is the doctrines of that under attack at this point? That's one of the things. There's like two things, and it's three, and it could be more. But the two major things that are currently under attack when it comes down to truth is religion and education. Would you say so?
Religion, education, politics, or politricks.
Yes, politics. That's a whole nother.
I'm on politricks.
Right. Yeah. So that within itself. So religion. We understand that there's an esoteric understanding of the truth in which you have pastors, clergymen, imams, and all that continue to withhold from the masses.
Mm-hmm.
That within itself must release itself from that bondage, to keeping people bondage.
Mm-hmm.
People must be freed from that.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, it takes a strong will.
Okay? Is that a rhetorical statement? Are you asking for a response? Do I think, or are you just making that as
No, it can be a rhetorical statement, question. Would the masses be able to free themselves from the doctrines of man?
I believe, in my opinion, we are moving into a time when the energies of the times, if you will, are opening up the chakras and the awareness of so many people that truth is beginning to flood into areas that were previously occupied by fears and all of the other teaching that we know is dogmatic, that has been forced upon the people for centuries.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's breaking up. And it's breaking up because the times predicted that it would. In the Bible, it talks about the great falling away. The falling away is taught as a time when people will fall away from the truth. But when I used to preach, that's what I thought. Oh, it's gonna, people are gonna fall from the truth. But now I realize what it is. It's like the scales falling away from people's eyes and people seeing the truth. And as a result of seeing the truth, they're falling away from dogma. So people are falling away from dogmatic beliefs, and it's happening cosmically, meaning it's not necessarily because you or I or Grand Sheik or others are saying anything in particular, but the times that we are moving, the energies that we're pulling in, the Aquarian energy, even though we're not fully in the Aquarian age, you start to feel the energies or the pull. We're not fully in it, but we feel some of it, and it's been happening for years now. When you start to study, because remember, when I was really in the church, I wouldn't buy any books that talked about, magic or this, that. We wouldn't dabble in anything that was esoteric or anything for fear.
Or calling yourself
right.
a witch.
Calling yourself a witch, which we now know means wise woman. But you wouldn't even go there. Mm-hmm. And so because we had enough fear for us not to investigate the truth, we were able to be subjugated. Mm-hmm. But now when those fears are being dispelled, when more things are being made light of, truth is being made light of, people are not sure that they want to go left or right, but they just know that they don't want to do that anymore. Right. They're pulled sometimes by associations that they have formed in these institutions. Churches, sororities, for sororities, fraternities, churches, all same thing. Same thing. So they are bound to an extent by the associations and the coalitions and friendships and bonds that have been formed, but there's something yet that's pulling them away from it not being true.
But the falling away would definitely create a need of connection somewhere. That's what it's going, we have it's within us, a collectiveness within us. Even though people say, you hear people say, until we come to a collectiveness of unity, we have the spirit of collectiveness and unity already within us. We have fallen away from that through the trading, through becoming a trader for benefits and trinkets and finances, fiat. We think it's money, but it's not money.
Mm-hmm.
We have exchanged our currency for something that has no value to it. So we fell in love with that. So we fell away from the collectiveness and unity of which we are going to bind ourselves back to.
Mm-hmm.
So as the people fall away from the doctrines of man into the truth of the esoteric knowledge of self, which is know thyself comes from, they're going to have a need to also want to connect with other founders of truth, people that's on a journey. They may have journeyed ahead of them, waking up ahead of them. So, and then you also still will have the kinship of the walking
Dead.
well, yes, the sleepwalkers.
Sleepwalkers.
You would have the sleepwalkers that would attempt to condemn that which they do not know, don't wish to know, because they're not ready for the full awakening themselves.
Well, one of the things, I know I had a conversation recently with someone, and we were talking about the Revolt conference that was just held recently in the ATL in Atlanta. And, we heard some things that made a lot of people get, excited to an extent, especially the passion of people who, by and large, are funded, if you will, and handled, if you will, by the very system that has subjugated us. Or would they be willing to risk losing their gain, the things that they have gained, in order to stand for the truth? I mean, you'll hear a couple things.
They have not lost it in all these years, and they are not going to turn away the money table. They love, they are the great pirates of amity. They love to get the booty. They love to get the bag. So no, they would not turn away. They would not fall away from that which they love in order to fully bring the people into the awakening. It sounds like great talk, and I'm always leery. My mother told me to always be leery of people that talk loud and fast. People that talk loud and fast.
Okay.
You can slow those words down, and then you'll hear a lot of deception behind that, because it comes from the what you call that, the agenda. My belief, this is my opinion, I feel that the agenda comes from a propaganda backing. I don't know when have that corporation, and I'm not going to give them the energy, I don't know when have ever this particular in mine, yours, it look like me and you, when have they ever been interested in our nationality principles, in our rising, in our awakening? So when I see things, I see beyond the smoke. So when I see things of that nature, I tend to be, you have to look at it with a side eye, be like, yeah, I see you talking. I guess this your next gig. This is your next gig. Because obviously something wasn't working in your other gig. Because, just last year, couple of years, when was the election?
2016.
See, I'm even out of that paradigm. Just a couple of years ago, you was on the road with another oppressor, marketing for him. So we have to look at all this. We have to look at this. Your backing. Look who you're backing. Look at the track record. So no, I'm not gonna back down one bit. Me personally, no. And I would hope that everyone who has a keen eye to look at it in the same manner, question all things. Question the background and the foreground and the birds that's talking. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I just feel like it would be.
I'm from Atlanta. I know how those birds chirp.
But like I said, I just feel that even if they wanted to,
They can't.
they can't because they have too much at stake.
Exactly.
Their whole lifestyle is based on, and I was telling this brother that I was talking to, I said the other thing that we don't realize, especially those in the music industry, I remember talking to a person who'd been in the music industry for years, East Coast, West Coast, and schooled me on the tracks or the, what do you call it, the hertz in which the various recordings were made, and that they had to get out of the music business because they realized that the music was being used as a weapon against his own people. And literally showed, the East Coast, West Coast, it's a different, they were being mastered differently on the East Coast and West Coast, but there were energetic uses that were specifically targeting. And I was telling this brother, I was like, yeah, I said, for instance, how we pick up on trends. I said, now most of the music you hear, everybody sounds the same. Everybody's got this monotone, it doesn't matter what you put in there as long as it fits in this thing. I said that has to be the latest, sort of entrainment.
I think it's a spellcast song.
Right, because everybody's got the same kind of rhythmic patterns to what they're doing, and because we know what we know now, we realize, like you said, they cast spells. There's things called entrainment. And if you start to hear the same thing over and over, and it doesn't matter. I mean, if they're Albion, if they're Asiatic, they're getting them all in the same. Now there's an amalgamation. If they're country, western, you don't even know unless you go and you go, oh, he's a Moor.
And we're on the assumption that we are the only ones that are subjugated. No, the entire planet is under subjugation. We feel the brunt of it because we're connected to Gaia. We have that direct connection where they are willing to trade. They are willing to keep that platform in the workings because they feel like it benefits them. Like someone asked me the other day, I was on the phone having a conversation, not feeling well, still trying to get myself together. I just know there's something going on in the atmosphere because my system keeps acting crazy. And someone said, well, do you think that all Albions are the same? No, they said different. Do you think that they're different? My response was no. I think they're all the same. I don't care how the smile is and how the acceptance is, and I'll get close to you and I'll break bread with you and I'll march and walk down the walk down the streets with you and wear out a pair of my shoes. But at the end of the day, not one have traded in what they see as the race benefits for true nationality.
You mean their true nationality?
Absolutely.
Well, most of them identify as Americans.
Well, they're not.
They're U.S. citizens
Well, they're not.
and they're Americans.
Well, they're not.
I know, but I'm just saying.
So that's what I'm saying. They have not said, you know what, I know this to not be true. I am going to claim and proclaim my true nationality and stand up under that flag. Not one. So if you continue to sit up under a lie, you're all the same. That's just my opinion. That is Tamara L's opinion. Because not one has said, I'm German.
Yeah, they'll be German American.
Not one has said, my nationality is German. Not one has said, my nationality is Russian. Not one has proclaimed that.
Okay.
They fall up under the cloak of the U.S. Service Corporation, and that's what they pledged their allegiance to. So no, they're not the same. That's my opinion.
When you say not the same as Moors, or not the same
Well,
as?
you have Moors as well that don't. See, here's the thing. There's a difference between a Moor not knowing they're Moor and walking into the proclamation of that, because we have been told for so long that we're so many things. I'm in my 40s, so I was told at my age range that we're black. My mother is in her 60s, and
As am I.
yes, and so you were told that you're colored.
Mm.
So you have colored, I'm black, 20 years later.
I think I was Negro.
I think, no,
Oh,
you
was
was
I
colored.
colored?
You was colored because my mother's birth certificate said
Okay,
colored.
okay.
But before that, it was what? Your mother was Negro.
Negro, okay.
Negro.
Mhm.
Okay. Negro, colored, 20 years later,
Black,
black. Then after that, he come Messy Jesse,
African American,
African American.
right. Afro American and African American.
How you gonna have an afro? So,
I'm saying that's what.
you know, this stuff is just not making sense. I think it took one encounter for someone to just, and I'm glad it was. I'm glad when I journeyed into the knowledge of truth, the first person that I stumbled upon was Grand Sheep. That's amazing, right?
That's amazing.
And mind you, I am from the Bible Belt. I traveled from that Bible Belt during that Martin era. I'm that dream of down there, bathed in all that. That I have a dream.
Yeah.
And we stayed in a dream. We stayed in a dream. And then you have to break away and, you know, and when I broke away and my spirit started saying yes to the truth, the first person along my journey was Grand Sheep Tariq Bey. And I didn't meet him looking for my nativity or any of that nature. I met him, I was looking for a Reiki class. I was looking to go inward first and get to know who am I. And that's the first person I met. He was at a Reiki class. He was at a self-awakening dialogue
That we had here.
class that was held at House of Reawakening Mind on a Sunday. So, and the first question that he asked after the event, do you know about your nationality? Well, that was a headbanger for me. Here I am, almost 2 years later. So, I wasn't looking for my nationality. It was already there. I just had to be reminded of it, and I didn't turn my back to it. But trust me, the Albions know who they are. They know. That's the difference. We don't know who we are because we've been told so many things.
Mm-hmm.
We've been told so many things. And then you have the people that say, oh, the Moors come from Spain. That's not here. Morocco is not here. Morocco is over there. I don't know how Morocco could be over there when that's the kingdom of Morocco, and that was 1956. So how could something ancient be over there? You know, so that within itself, our people would deny. They would deny the truth, and it is written in history. It's written in treaties. It's written in stone. The born stone. It's written in stone. The Moabite stone. It's written in stone. Our people would just deny. I think it's going to take the Albions to put the darn word more on the census to subjugate you as a Moor in a census. That's what it's going to take.
You think so?
I think so. They're going to trick them and put the word Moor. You're going to be a census. You're going to be counted as a Moor in a census because you want to be a part of that so bad. That's where the training and the education come from.
So when we go and we fill out a form or something and it has nationality or something and they have only choice,
form?
their form, and like say you go to the doctor and you've got to, every time you go to get x-rays or some kind of diagnostic, you got to fill out a form. It has nationality, whatever. You look at everything and you know, well, I'm none of that. You crossed out African American.
Why you fill that?
Well, if you cross it out and write in Moorish American, or they're going to actually put black when you leave because they looked at you. And if you put nothing, they're still gonna look at you and say, oh, they forgot to do it, that was a black person or African American person right there, and they're gonna do it.
That happens, and that happens for their data. That happens definitely in employment contracts when you have the servant master contract, because they also get what you call tax credits for having so many, I would say, for having so many black servants on their plantation. So that happens in the master servant contracts that we call job.
Right.
So, please don't say Job, it's a job. So in that master servant contract, yes, they would do that because they receive a tax benefit from their boss, which is the Vatican, that allows them to say, hey, you're doing good, you have a lot of, you have that great ratio of those black servants on your plantation, so you're good. So they would do that in their platform. Yeah, they would do that. They would do that in their facilities of the hospitals. They would do it there. They would do it, where else they would do it at? Yeah, anytime it's their forums, they would do it.
Yeah, I mean, it actually, like I said, if you don't put it, they're gonna look at you and assume anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do put it, they're gonna cross that out and say, that's a black African American, and they're not gonna put that. But what you're saying is just the fact that if we should not even seek to be identified as a part of their census anyway, because we are an independent, or should be an independent nation that's apart from this U.S. corporation.
No, we are a nation. We are a nation.
Now I said that we are apart from their corporation.
Yeah, they're not a nation. They're a corporation that has usurped the powers of our Moorish sovereignty. So they're operating through our Moorish sovereignty. So with that being said, they have a census corporation and say how many citizens they have in a society. And even if they recreate it and place more in there, I don't want to be counted
in their society. I got it. Okay, that's what I was asking for clarity.
Because we have our own census that we should create through our body politics to say we're in our correct standing of society. So that's why, our people would be very comfortable if they change the census and put more on there. They say, see, look, they have more on the census. That's where it comes down to the tricks of education. The education is another thing that keep our people in a stronghold. I think this year for me was one of the years in which, when it was back to school for the children, I cringed. I literally wanted to cry.
Because we know what education is, what the intent is. We know that they're not getting erudition, that they're not being given what they need to go higher, the hidden knowledge that they should have, that should be a part of their foundation. We realize that they're being trained to follow orders. They're being made out of good servants, so to speak, and those that don't work, they weed them through and push them out.
Yeah, at Empress us, we like to just, we don't like to just be talking birds. We like to give you information to go back and have as arsenals to show your other kinfolks who are not yet of belief of what we're saying. Have them go look up the 1908 Rockefeller, 1908 Rockefeller, where he talks about General Board of Education. Then you also have the 1938 General Semantics Movement. And the General Semantics Movement is where they took the natural tongue away of the person to speak in positive format, which is denotation. Mm-hmm. And they changed it to connotation, which is semantics. So they took the etymology away. The General Semantics Movement was designed to dumb down the knowledge of the language. So basically, they're using language also as a usurpation to usurp our birthright. birthright and our consanguinity. So, someone may look at I'm black and I'm proud as a beautiful thing.
Not me, but y'all get it.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm black and I'm proud as a beautiful thing. Whereas the person of language knows calling yourself that places yourself in a position of subjugation.
Absolutely.
Someone may also, what other areas that, just language in itself, when it comes to law. When it comes to law, you have what you call jurisprudence, which is positive law. Wait a minute. So you mean to tell me there's a negative law? Yeah, you have what you call law degrees. The word degree means step down, which is negative law. Right, so law degree, lawyer's attorney to turn over is the negative law from the positive law of jurisprudence.
I learned something.
So the trouble that we have along this route is our people don't have the knowledge of jurisprudence, which is positive law. They fight under the statute, codes, and ordinance of negative law.
So it's almost like fighting a losing battle.
No, the battle's not only the battle is lost, is when it's lost in the one that don't want to continue to study for the truth and learn the truth. So, people say, oh, whether he said it or not, just go study. Go study and go learn the truth. You don't have to take information from myself, Dr. G, Grand Sheik Tasarif Day, Abdullah El Talib Mosey Bay, Aaron L, Hannibal, Father Hannibal, Rosmariah. You have some great ones out there, Sharon. Even you have a Seer Dukateers, great, wonderful teacher. You have Obashingo L, great, wonderful teacher. These are great people that are out there. There's quite a few others.
Dan Calloway.
There's great teachers out there. Don't just take, and there's another one. His name is Chef Ponder. And also Cronstatchers. There are great teachers out there. Don't just take anyone's word. Go and verify and validate for yourself so it becomes the language of truth. Not just because Todd said it. Or the prophet, oh God, when I hear that. But the prophet said,
And the people, when they say that, you would think, okay, because you were there, right? You heard every word that he uttered or did not utter. And so you can verify or validate that. And that is so limiting. And just like Grand Sheik always says, he reminds us also that he said, the prophet said that the half has not been told. So if he hadn't told us even half of what we needed to know, it meant that the remaining portion remained to be discovered by those who would come after him.
Well, everyone don't know everything. The universe did not give everything
Absolutely.
to one person.
Absolutely.
And we failed to realize, as I stated to this brother earlier, one of the things that he had trouble with, remember, is that he continued to go to church every Sunday. So his butt is on a fence that got like the spikes in the middle, and he's almost about to get split because he see the truth, but he still want to play in that arena and still want that feel good drums, and that's that and within itself. Drums, music, all that comes from the universe. That does not give the church do not have authority over that. So, but he said he liked the music, he liked the choir. Go sing to yourself. So he have a hard time with separating. And in my petition went to him is that skip it this Sunday, unapologetically. Just skip it, even if you just let your alarm not go off to wake you up. Go sit with nature and just connect. Just connect and see what unfolds. So you have that situation. It's the language. It's the language. It's the language of etymology. It's the language of law. So this year I literally cried when I saw those babies being ushered in to those training camps, those training facilities. I know it to be true. I went through all the rudiments of elementary, high school, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, and I remember crossing that threshold the day of my master's degree, and I said, I wanted to give it back to him. I really did. I said, this is not it. I said, I literally, on the stage, I literally wanted to just hand it back. Something that clicked in me and said, this is not it. This is not it. And from that day forward, I started taking time to self. And so it really broke my heart to see that our parents are not taking the time, our mothers are not taking the time, and we're talking about the mother principle. They're not taking the time to educate themselves because they're bogged down and inundated with, I gotta go to work, I gotta put food on the table, I gotta clothe my children, I gotta take care of this man of the house, make him happy, I gotta do this, and just a cycle of that.
Absolutely, yeah. So many things that have taken away from what used to come naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Any given moment, any slight infraction against their rules and laws could get them snatched away and put in even a worse situation, because we know now that the foster care system and some of these systems are sort of almost like a trafficking. Depending on where they put them, these children are more exploited in these systems than they are.
Well, that was designed. That was the mission. It's doing its job. We need to give it a hand clap.
Yeah, well,
their mission is fulfilled. It's complete. It's in full swing. The thing is, what we're gonna do about it?
Well, I believe what we are doing at the House of Reawakening Minds, we've been doing for the last.
No, I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about our people here that's on YouTube, our people that's there on Facebook, all our Moors out there who are seekers of the truth, that know the truth, waking up to the truth. What are we going to do to save our babies? Our babies are being, it's like a conveyor belt. They're being conveyed into that educational model that was set up. Keep in mind, that model is not the model of which the Moors set up. And we can even go back further than that. That's not the model of our foremothers or forefathers. Now, there's certain areas in it that they still encompasses because they're not going against the grain of that. Let's just say chemistry. Well, it's not too much defacting you can do with that. Besides, you can create weapons of mass destruction with that, but we didn't design it for that. Chemistry wasn't designed for that. So the knowledge of it. Then you have the knowledge of science. You have the knowledge of astronomy, astrology, astronomy. Astronomy is the law of astrology. Then you have what you call language, arithmetic, things of that nature. You even have music that encompasses numbers and sounds and things like music is actually numbers. So our people taught the positive aspect of that, whereas the education system today does not teach that what's in nature that's within you. That's what I'm saying.
It does not make the connection.
It's not a connection at all. It's not a connection at all. Because if there was a connection, you wouldn't need to go there.
Absolutely. I mean, some people who homeschool their children actually will take their children out to nature, and the things that they do. But a lot of things that they do are hands-on, practical things. Unless be say an architect or something. Some of these, geometry and some of these I'm not saying you shouldn't know them.
But okay.
Well, no, maybe we're using the wrong ones. But some of the courses of study that children take have no value to them beyond being in school. And then maybe I was using the wrong example, but there are some things they don't add to. And when they come out, when they've amassed $100,000+ of
No.
notes of student loan debt and so forth, they still, one, can't find a job. Two, if they do, they're gonna do like OJT, they gotta do on-the-job training. And the only thing that their so-called education, well, it is education did for them was prove that they could be trained, they were trainable. But they still have to be trained to do, because it's not practical application for the most part. If they'd be better off going, in a lot of cases, to some kind of technical school or something that gave them an actual skill that they could, back in the day we were coming out as shop. We had, so we had auto mechanics coming, people that became auto mechanics, beauticians, barbers. I'm just saying.
No, I'm saying that was it.
Right, I'm saying.
That was the way to go.
But we wanted to get into the flow of what we thought had it going on. All we did was got into debt.
Let me tell you, my mother was an owner of a salon, and she raised up as she was a master barber. Master, they don't even give that out now. She was a master barber in cosmetology. Yes. She had, her salon was in the pinnacle of downtown Atlanta, and she shared in ownership with other master cosmetologists, and they had a very successful, thriving business, and that's what she raised her 3 children on. Okay? Mm-hmm. But here's the kicker. I can remember she put this in us. Her being an entrepreneur, having that entrepreneur spirit. She said, you're going to learn a trade. You're going to learn she was basically saying, you're going to learn what's in you. Mm-hmm. So we would have to go, when I wasn't playing basketball, we would have to go to the shop. So, I did not have the gift of doing hair. So my sister was her assistant. My sister had that gift of doing hair. My other sister had the gift of just being rebellion. But my older sister, by that time she was there, she was doing hair as well. Those two had the gift of doing hair. I didn't have that gift.
Administration.
I was the gift of making sure everything was in order, of making sure her books was in order, of just inventory and things of that business. I had that gift, and that's what she tapped into. Oh no, hard hit me. I want to go to college. I want to go to college. And I can remember going off that path. I remember she was like, I'm not signing those papers. Oh, we had a big falling out. Oh, when I say falling out, we had a big falling out. I'm not signing those papers. I'm not putting my name on anything. And at that time, you had to wait till you were 24 before you can declare yourself as being an independent student. So I can recall when I turned 24, I'm going to school and I'm going to get me a good job. And I did that. And then I realized that Mama was right. Oh my God, I had to call her and say, Mama, it took me 20 years to realize you was right. And here we are now, well, here I am now, finding that truth of what she was trying to tell, that job was already in you. Mm-hmm. That gift is already in you. It doesn't matter if you're the best basket weaver. Somebody needs baskets. Somebody needs baskets. It doesn't care if you can build, attempt to take credit for. You have things that were built that people can't figure out, such as the Great Pyramids of that nature. Mm-hmm. I don't even think we can figure it out anymore. So I say all that to say, the education, we need to question that as well. We need to question the church. We need to question the education system. And we definitely need to question politics. Because people keep saying that this is the United States is a corporation. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is a corporation. But however, they're operating through your Moorish national sovereignty. So we have to understand the rules, norms of operating, jurisprudence. We must start to understand the importance of jurisprudence, admiralty, things that our foremothers and forefathers set up, which is being operated against us. So, I think I've talked enough.
No, you. I don't know if anybody has got any comments or anything because I'm literally
My phone is dead.
without my.
Oh, no, it's not.
I was going to say, I'm gonna pull it up. Okay.
Let me see.
We do apologize. We got a little bit discombobulated, like Tamara said earlier. We had a very a wonderful experience meeting, the brother from Khalifa territory, and it just kind of threw us off. And so when I did get up here, I got up here unprepared. But we want to see if
Let's see if we have some.
any comments or questions or anything, because we do want to. We still have had issues with our camera for the last 2 weeks since we found out that Mevo was commandeered, so to speak, by
I see
Facebook.
our YouTube is working fine.
Okay.
Okay, let's see here.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see there.
Without my glasses.
Oh gosh, let me see.
My glasses are over there. I want to get out of the camera. I want to get out of the camera. Go get my glasses. I can't read it.
Okay, Sahara, she talked about color of law.
Sister Sahara, okay.
Let me see. Okay, Germany in the house.
All right, Germany.
Okay, he said we doing all we can in a fake paper commercial military script world, which market heavy their de facto brand, which many unknowingly more prescribe to not knowingly we must rise. That's absolutely correct. We are doing, I don't think we're doing all we can. I don't think we're doing all we can. But we are doing. I think we are doing a great job with what we have. I will agree with that. And yes, we will rise. It's going to happen. Yes. And that is correct. There was a scene, I love watching different episodes on Netflix. And I just realized recently that season 2 of American Gods is like coming on.
I saw it all.
I'm just now catching up.
I thought you had seen them because you told
No, I know, I'll be so into it because I'm always looking for the message. And there's a scene in episode 4 called The Greatest Story Ever Told.
Yes.
Oh my God. Listen, if you do not, look, I didn't even give you my login password, but let me tell you, you must go and watch season 2, episode 4 of American Gods, called
on Stars.
On Stars, the greatest story ever told. Let me tell you, there's 3 scenes in there that was just, it will warm your heart. And if you follow my page, my Facebook page, Tamara L, I had to literally sit up in the middle of the bed and record those 3 scenes. But one of the things they talk about is money and how Wednesday, which is Uden, which is the name for Wednesday, he is the father of Shadow. And Shadow is a amalgamated Moor, because there are scenes to show that he comes through the Moabite Stargate. But he's Shadow is a half immortal and half mere mortal, which means he's a god, I guess. So that we're using the word God. Keep in mind, we're using the word God in after 1500 sense, because you have the people that's using the word God to relate to ancient, and that word wasn't even formed. So we're just gonna say after 1500, he's considered a god. Okay.
That doesn't know he's a god.
No, he don't know where his light shines from.
Right.
And that's the crazy part about that.
Sounds like us.
So they have a scene where Shadow is rolling a coin in his face, on his knuckles. And Wednesday said, don't attempt to use that in here And he said, oh, yeah, about that. Let me ask you a question. In 1933, and he goes on to talk about, what's the name?
The gold
standard
was
suspended.
Mm-hmm.
And then Winston said yes, and he said, let me show you something. And he pulled out the dollar bill, popped it. Now, why would he pop that dollar bill to show the all-seeing eye with a detached providence, and the providence is detached, which y'all call the eye. The providence is detached because it shows, the word providence means to see forward. So the detached eye means that the people, the original people, eyes have been detached. So they have no ability to see forward. Mm-hmm. Then on the other side, he shows the eagle. Keep in mind, people assume that the eagle is theirs. The eagle is not theirs. The eagle goes all the way back to Heptapekah, which is, they transliterated the word to Egypt, and then all the way up to our current foremothers and forefathers called the Iroquois Confederate. It's in their constitution. It says the eagle represents the ability to see all around. So the eagle has always been a representation of the autochthonous, which means from the earth, autochthonous, aboriginal, original people. So why would they show this? So they're showing this. He popped it just like that. He said, look at this. This is called money. He said, whoa, wait a minute. That's what they call it, money. He said, and you think this has value. And he said, but I want this. And he pulled up a salt shaker. And he said, but you have it. He said, now why would you exchange this of no value for this of value? He said, because everybody wants money. They think it has value. Just go and look at that series 4. You'll be blown away.
And on top of that, to use the salt shaker as an example is interesting, because there's a scripture that says, "For ye are the salt of the earth." And people used to say, "Is he worth his weight in salt?" Because salt was so valuable. Mm-hmm. And so he's saying, you're the one of value. Mm-hmm. You are the one of value, but you're exchanging your value for toilet paper.
Well, and that's the doctrine of salt. That's the doctrine of salt. But also the salt comes from the esoteric realm of all the 4 elements, all the 12 elements within the earth.
Oh, the salts, the cell salts.
The cell salts within the earth. It comes from all those elements. That's what they don't teach in the house of the doctrines, whatever they call it. Let me see here. Oh, that's a good question. Jabril Dawood El Bey.
Hello.
He says, should a new person join a temple? My opinion, a new person shouldn't join anything because they don't know themselves. That's my opinion. When we talked about becoming in unison, you become in unity. When we talked about earlier, I'm not sure if you was on earlier, we talked about the energy of the Aquarian light. Mm-hmm. In the Aquarian light, people will eventually fall away they will fall away, and the word fall away it will mean fall away from the truth. They're actually falling away to the truth. Mm-hmm. Okay, and those people will want to be connected to something. They're going to want to be connected to truth seekers, other people that has come into their awakening ahead of them, So it's like a light attraction.
Yes.
It's like a light attraction.
How many people have you met along this journey? And sometimes it's just synchronicity, and then once you connect with this person or these persons, you feel like you've known them for lifetimes, and this was just a divine appointment. And I think that's what happens. We have made agreements and contracts in eternity past to come together at certain very critical stages throughout our incarnations. Mm-hmm. To do certain things. And so when you meet up with a member of your soul group, you kind of know it. There's just like the brother tonight. That brother, it was such a bond. I mean,
it was great. It was a great click and connection. It's like the mind, body, and spirit was singing and like, yes,
Yeah. So when these people come into your lives for various.
No. I get that you pose a question for new people to hear, not yourself.
We know who you are.
The answer was not for you. It's for others that are online. And,
let me say something about that.
Will chime in. So my answer would be that the new people should they should join themselves first. They should join themselves first. They should come one with themselves because they don't know themselves. They should come one with nature. And then the universe will connect them with whom they should be connected with, whether it's in a temple, whether it's, and then if they decide to go into a temple, they will go in with all their eyes open. And then they will make a decision. If that's where they should be, that's where they will be. If that's where they should not be at, that's where they will not be. And they will journey on to find the right connection. You mentioned I went to New Orleans Corporation. I went to the New Orleans Corporation. I traveled within Morocco. Let me get this straight. I traveled within Morocco, and I was under the New Orleans Corporation jurisdiction, right? Within that jurisdiction. And when I was there, I sat on a bench in what you call, what's it called? Square, something square. It's a square, but at this square is where you can feel the energy there. That's where they hung a lot of women who claim their natural knowledge of being a witch, in which I'm sure they were wise women, and they claimed that, but society and also the subjugation of men took that word to mean sorcery, devil, things of that nature. There go the doctrines again in the language, the usurpation of the language. I sat on the bench next to this young lady, and I said, I was meant to sit here and meet you. And I said, do you do intuitive work? Because you have people out there doing tarot readings and all that. But I didn't, and there a lot of them was Albion, no offense, but I just didn't feel the connection for them to take my palms and read me. I just so happened to sit next to her. I said, are you a seer, intuitive? She said, yeah, I'm off work and I'm just waiting for my ride. And I said, oh, okay. I said, well, I would like to see you. She said, tomorrow come to Congo Square, which is where all the Asiatics are, because that's where they allowed them to be on Sunday. So they continue to carry on that tradition. And I said, okay. So I said, do you have Facebook? She's like, sure. I said, well, let me put your information out. When I pulled them in, we was already friends. We was already friends. We never met in person, but we had met through that connection, and it finally linked up. So that's why I said about, you don't have to join anything. It'll connect. You'll connect with who you need to be connected with.
True. Yeah. With my feeling about the temple, though, for new persons, this is the way I look at it. Ask yourself the question. Person has to ask themselves the question: where did you get your first knowledge or information about your nationality and birthright? Many people will say YouTube. YouTube. Many people will say, most of them say Grand Taj Street Bay. So to get your awakening there, and whom he says in the process, you'll hear him say, go to the temple. When he tells everybody should go to the temple, there's a reason why he says that. He says that because he knows that once you get there, that 9 times out of 10, depending on how long you've been studying and listening to his videos, you come in with more knowledge than what you're ever going to get there. If you come from the church, he realizes that you're going to get, in many cases, what I call reverse church, and not only a reverse church in that it's now, but like from back in the 50s. Not only is it church, but it's back there church, and it's just a switching of the word. Instead of saying this, you're saying Allah, instead of saying Jesus, whatever. And so he says go because he wants you to form your own opinion. I don't think he tells people to go because he wants you to stay there, because he knows that there has been so much that the temples, now not all of them, but by and large the temples have not given the people. My statement for myself is, why didn't I know? Why did I have to wait until I was 56 years old to find out that I was a Moor? you know. So 8 years ago, I found out that I'm not Negro or African American, but I'm Moorish American, and I got all this heritage. Nobody ever knocked on my door with a turban or fez and evangelized me or tried to evangelize me like I tried to evangelize people into Christianity. And so they were not going into the highways and hedges. Right. They did not go into the, what I'm saying is they did not go into the highways and hedges and compel the people to come out of all of this dogma and out of all of this deception. They allowed themselves to stay in what I call us four no more groups, small groups. But anytime you come to an organization and when you knock on the door for interest, they say, "Who said you? How'd you find out about us?" What do you mean, how did I find out about you? Shouldn't you have told me? This is the way I feel about it. You should have been at the rooftops, shouting to the rooftops, telling your people, come out of all of this subjugation. You, my people, are Moors. You are, autochthonous. You're Aboriginal. You're the original people. You're not this, but that's not what was done. And so my opinion is to a new person is keep studying the way you were studying until you get a firm foundation. And if you want to explore a temple, and I'm saying eventually maybe temples will change. Maybe, so some of these temples, Greshik and I talk about it, some of the very people, and you and I talked about it too, some of the very people who denounce him in public consult with him in private. You know what I mean? They'll consult with him in private and act as, and agree with him on things that they'll publicly come out and we don't deal with him. He's this. Because I don't know how many people I can count on. I'll need another set of two hands to talk about the number of people who have called me and said, when I mention Grand Sheik or when I mention House of Reawakening Minds at the temple, they said, oh, I come out of the church, so to speak, and given an assignment to reawaken minds, not knowing exactly what that meant. And a year later, met Grand Sheik Taj Shabbat Bey. And then knew somehow that I'm so grateful, to our sister Zodiacus L, rest her soul, and that she was the one that introduced me to Grand Sheik Taj Tariq Bey.
You must, we have had the fortune of yourself as well as Abdullah El Tweedy Mosbey to find her literature, and we have made copies of them, and we only distribute them at the cost of the copy.
Yeah, because it costs.
We copy in the mailing. We don't seek, we don't make any financing off her work. But I would encourage you to email the House of Reawakening Mind to procure her literature. Let me tell you, it will have you sitting up and you will examine every area of your life after reading her work. It's just a great spiritual connection to you. Her work is amazing.
I mean, I have to look back on the sister, as far as, how she came into my life. Like I said, his brother's name was Rob, who invited me to a class, and I go to a class. I'm just coming out of pastoring, because everybody's going except for 4 or 5 people. And I go to this class, and I'm sitting there in incognito listening to this stuff I'd never heard before. And something is in me telling me, don't say anything during the class, don't raise your hand, don't reveal who you are. But at the end of the class, somehow I could not tell her who I was. And it was about 6 months later. I think I saw her twice. In about 6 months, she disappeared. And one day I walked in here, and she walked in. And she said, I was sent to help you. And she was eccentric. She was eccentric.
She was herself?
She was herself. But she knew who she was. Mm-hmm. She knew she had a short time here. I didn't know that she had a short time here. She talked about previous lives and who she had been and what she had done, but she said, I'm not coming back again.
But what if I say that when you're leaving here, unless your departure is premature due to accident or illness, things of that nature. And illness comes from just that slight edge of just sometimes environmental illness and not taking care of yourself through proper diet. But as we know, you get your natal chart, right? And your natal chart is designed think about it. If it's telling you when you arrive, don't you think it tells you your departure?
It stands to reason.
Right.
And she, you know, so, yeah,
It tells you your past life, which is your south node. It tells you your current life, which is your north node. So all of that is written, is there for you to know.
Well, she knew.
Yeah.
And,
so that's how she knew. Like I said, you read her work, and it'll make you go deeper within yourself to get to know who you are. And you know, and I think it's a great saying, know thyself. It's important to know thyself. How would you learn, my thing is important, how are you willing to learn anything else besides who you are first?
that's not encouraged.
That's the great awakening.
Yeah.
That's the great awakening.
That's not encouraged.
Who am I?
Yeah. You gotta know who Jesus is first.
No.
You know what they tell?
The great awakening is knowing thyself.
That's right.
And as you know thyself, then you will get to know those things that are part of you.
That's true. And the sister was profound. She took me to Philadelphia and introduced me to Grand Chic. I had the privilege of, you know, and I think about it now, you know, she literally, for a couple of months, she stayed in my home. And so, you know, hence that, you know, she gave me books and so forth, but she was just a person who was wise beyond her years, because I didn't even know at the time when we met that she was as young as she was, because she was like the age of my eldest son at the time, and I didn't know it. I thought she was older because she was so wise in how she, you know, how she thought, and she'd spend hours at the library typing her stuff on the library, you know, those things you have to have a disc or something to save stuff on, and she would be at the public library writing this stuff. And, you know, and she had,
that's determination. And
she had every one of Dr. Malachi Z. York's books, because she had original stuff that she had gotten because she had spent time down at the compound. And so she had all this, and so when she left me and she ended up in another place, the person where she stayed when she had to leave, and it wasn't in a good light, but she left a lot of her stuff, and this individual threw all of her books and all of her stuff, I found out later, because he told me, we threw all that stuff away. They threw everything. And so when I came across what she had literally put in my hands, the 2 original books, it was like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize I still had this. And then when Brother Abdullah came up with 4 more.
Yeah.
So we have a total of 6 of her works. So we've only, and like I said, the cost of, you know, just going, because we don't have the right kind of working copy machine that would do that kind of work. So we go to Staples and have to do these things. But just the fact that it's once you get it in your hand, you realize, I mean, when we copy it, we're copying stuff that in some cases that she typed, she typed it.
Yeah, and her spirit is still all over this body of work. It's still there.
Right.
I mean, I've enjoyed it. So far I've read 2, because it brings tears to my eyes to read it, because I can just feel her all in it. It's like a connection. I remember when I tapped into her video from Temple Passep at the Philadelphia Territorial Jurisdiction. It was a video from years ago of which Brother Abdullah filmed her. She was teaching etymology and astrology. Right. And oh my God, goodness, I remember after that, it's like a 2-hour video. You can Google it and look it up. You'll see that video, Zodiacus L. I think that's one of the only videos that's out there. And I remember watching that video, and I had to play it back, write notes. And I was like, then I saw Brother Abdullah jump in the screen. In the end, I was like, oh, I know him. Let me call him. So I called her and said, hey, brother, can I meet this lady I just saw on YouTube, Zodiac Gazelle? He's like, she's transitioned. I was like, oh, the damn great ones are gone.
And I Yeah, I've gotten calls for people asking, I want to give a donation to Sister Zodiacus L. Do you know how I can contact her? And like, well, she same thing, telling people she's transitioning because it's so relevant even to this
But
day.
she's transitioned, but her body of work, her legacy continues to dwell amongst us. So please take advantage of that. Like I said, the House We're Waking Minds do not make $1 or a penny off the copy and the shipping. But if you'd like to donate for us just being able to do that, that's great. We accept all donations as well. We take gifts. So it is worth it. You can email Dr. G and she can tell you the cost for each different book, because I don't know off the top of my head. She can tell you the cost for each different book. And actually what we can do is just, I can take a picture of each book and I will post them onto our site. I'll do that. And then you can just email Dr. G and tell her which one you would like to purchase. And then I'll put on there how you can also purchase through PayPal or what is it?
Cash App.
Cash App. PayPal and Cash App.
Or money order.
So I'll place that out there.
When you speaking of that, I was like, eventually we need to get just more money orders and checks. All these, well, by the time this stuff adds up on Cash App and PayPal, they'll think we're.
Only she worry about that.
I do because
Only she worry about
they'll
that.
say
She's still don't listen to her. PayPal and Cash App. If that's how you do
or
it.
money order a
That's
check.
how you do it. Don't send no money order no check. Ain't nobody got time.
I can deposit
Ain't
it.
nobody got time for all
I
that.
got time to deposit it.
Look, we're gonna have to get her out of this scare tactic. Let me see. We got one more. And
The date.
no, we're gonna do that Friday. Friday.
Okay. We can't do it on our show.
Friday. No, because you haven't finished the details. Friday. Miss Alma, I like yours because it's very detailed. Miss Alma, why things are how they are and how society is how it is now. I like the way you said now. I like because you didn't give the Jesuits credit to the ancient, because the ancient did not operate in that moment. So I understand where you're coming from when you said now. So yes, that is true, Miss Alma. The Jesuit orders, the Jesuits comes through that papal order of the Vaticans and things of that nature. So all that information is connected. I think I don't have enough time to go through that because we can spend a lot of time through that. But yes, you can definitely look up the Jesuit orders, which is the order of the Vaticans and the clergy, and all their papal bulls and all their different orders that they put out, such as the Knights Templars, the Hospitallers. We just came out of a building was formerly owned by the Knights of Columbus. And I told those people, if you don't chisel that mess up off the floor.
That KC.
That K of C.
K of C.
And it's designed in a square. I tell them, you keeping this energy in this building.
Because Asiatics now own it.
Yeah, Asiatics now own the building. They didn't know. They knew it was owned by the Knights of Columbus, but they didn't understand the Knights of Columbus function and how they continue to function to this day. And people say the Knights of Templar was or were. No, Knights of Templar is and still going. That's what you have, the code enforcers that's under the Hospitallers, the Knights of Hospitallers, that's in the hospitals currently getting all your DNA, and people are like, oh, I'm not giving my DNA to them. Baby, they got your DNA. Your DNA, your what else?
Your blood,
your bones.
Your organs.
Now I wouldn't even call it Western medicine because Western society, I wish they stopped that with that, because the Western society operated off herbs. We operated off herbs. We was holistic. So that's not Western medicine. It's not the crap that we get today. Western medicine would be linden, elderberry, mullein, what else? Yellow burdock root. That's Western medicine. Western medicine is not the synthetic medicine that's used to kill all the organs and the function of your pineal gland. That's not Western medicine. Western medicine is designed to heighten and increase your intuition and build your immune system and raise your kundalini. That's Western medicine. So when I hear people say Western medicine, they're absolutely wrong. That's why we must get into the etymology of the words and the language to see how they have been designed to construct and destruct our birthright and consequentity. We have 5-6 minutes. You want to close us out, Dr. G?
I don't know what to say. Except that I'm happy that we were able to finally get another fourth Friday in.
I know I sound like a man. Forgive me for that.
How you sound like a man?
I feel like I sound like a man. I feel my voice is strange.
You're dealing, coming off that sinus issue.
Let me tell you, I had a coworker at work in Albion, and she was coughing like a pit bull. I kid you not. And this was not Wednesday before last, not Wednesday just passed, Wednesday before last, she was barking. And I was like, look, you need to go home with that because you're not going to get me sick. She was like, oh, I can't go home if I lay down, the mucus going to run down my throat. I was like, I'm about to punch you in the throat. And so the next day she came, I said, look, I'm not trying to be funny, but I know you're going to get me sick. I know this because, oh my God, I went home and started putting my concoction together, trying to fight it. Friday, she came the same day. I couldn't take it no more. I be darned. My immune system must have lowered because that Sunday after we left the trails, that's when I felt it. Mm-hmm. When I started sneezing in the trails and we was working out, that's when I felt everything attacking and it was just coming down. So people, this is a new season. We have entered into the autumn equinox. This is the harvest. I would say, do as our foremothers and forefathers did. Gather up your herbs, gather up your maize and your wheat, and prepare for the next final season of the cold, the fall, which is, and so we can be well.
Speaking of wellness, we're not talking about this specifically, but I had the opportunity. A lot of times, we major on minor stuff and we don't pay attention to things that we think are important, but yet other people are getting knowledge that would be helpful to us. And I listened to a researcher by the name of David Sinclair on 2 different shows that was being interviewed, and he deals with anti-aging and so forth. And it was like, why are certain people aging and why do certain people not age or get various illnesses? And one of the things it was interesting that he said was, you have to be, among other things, is that you have to be willing to get cold. And I was like, get cold? And so when he talked about it, he talked about how he actually, as a part of his exercise and so forth, but when he goes to the gym, he gets in a sauna for a while, and then he plunges into ice cold water. And this is one of the things
this when I go down to Mexico, that's the first thing that they have you do when you come to the resort. You come to the resort, you take your clothes off, you go into the first zone. It's like a 4 zone. You go into the first zone, which is like not so hot. Then you go into the next one, got a hotter temperature. You go into the next one that's really crank you up. And then the 4th one is when they dump you. And then you go and use the bathroom because they gonna dump everything out of you. You go purge. And then they welcome you into the castle, into the home to enjoy your time at the resort. But that's the first thing you have to do when you get to the resort.
Well, the soul sweat that they still, I think, have here up in Southampton, PA, it goes through some of those things. But he was talking about that what happens with cold, and I used to take cold showers. I remember a few years back, that's what I used to do, and it would be a jolt. But I would do it. I did it for quite some time. Didn't know why I was doing it. I read it somewhere, but it did. Huh?
It's in you.
To hear what it actually.
You know what? See, this is why we can't have these conversations.
Listen to me.
She just want to say the Albion said. I'm like, it's in you.
I'm saying I did it, but I didn't know why I was.
Because it's in you.
But here's what I found out it does. When we get cold, cold showers, it actually encourages, and something happens in this area, and it encourages what we develop is something called brown fat. And the brown fat is a good fat that our bodies need. When we're always in hot, we don't want to hot, stay covered. He even says, it's even said that when we get in bed, don't be all bundled up to, I keep my window open, at least crack, but we need to have air flowing, because when you're hot and sweating, some of us like to be, it's not good for your health. So brown fat is developed with coal, and what that brown fat, among things of anti-aging, it also helps to break down bad fats out of your body, and it helps you, slough off things because you've allowed yourself to get cold. So I thought, that's interesting. I just want to tell the people about that. 'Cause sometimes we don't get these little tidbits if we stay in our little pockets of, we only going to get info. It's great to study about a nationality and birthright, but it's some other things that we have to get too. And sometimes the stuff if you keep your head like in the sand like this, you miss some of the other things that you need. And we need to be as healthy as possible for this fight that's ahead, this fight of truth. I mean, I'm happy that we were able to get this weekend. We want to announce that Grand Sheik, Tashreeq Beg, will be here next Friday, which will be the first Friday. And then we will have Brother Abdullah Al-Talib Mosi Beg on the second Friday, but we will not have we will not have a third Friday class with Grand Sheik, because both Sister Tamara and myself will be out of town. She will be celebrating her solar return, and I'll be with Sister fourth Friday. Grand Sheik will be taking we are going to relinquish our fourth Friday, Empress us, to have Grand Sheik come on the fourth Friday so that we can get the 2 Fridays in with him. And we hope that we'll send out information to those of you who are on our mailing list, but we want you, if you have not
and tune in for the big announcement.
Oh yeah, we have something exciting that's going to, I wanted to talk about it today, but she won't let me.
No.
She won't let me, but we have something exciting. We're going to talk about it, we're going to announce it on next Friday, she said.
Yes, it will be announced next Friday.
Next Friday. So, next Friday. I can't say anything. So next Friday we'll announce that, and, but we want you to, if you have not subscribed and liked and shared the fact that we are on YouTube as well as Facebook, we want you to do that. We want you to subscribe. And
like, we have 2 cameras up. We have the phone.
That's the phone right there.
YouTube, and we have our old system that once broadcast through YouTube, which is a Mevo system. Facebook kicked out the Vimeo, which hosts the third-party integration to Facebook and Mevo camera. Well, Facebook kicked out Vimeo, that we are able to do our titles and lower thirds and things of that nature. They kicked them out, and when they attempted to integrate directly between Facebook and the camera directly, it's not working anymore. So that's why we had to go to our YouTube page, but we couldn't use our old YouTube page. See, this is called transparency. We couldn't use our old YouTube page because so many people have stolen the name of our old YouTube page and has publicate every video from Facebook, and they put on their YouTube page for monetary gains and finances and put their cover on it. So that's why we have the new YouTube page of official House of Real Awakening Mind. So please like, share, comment. We'd like to thank the ones who tuned in this evening and with Empress us and shared along our journey as we talked about the traitors amongst us in the church, politics, as well as education. Those are things we really need to focus on.
And so because we're doing, and it's because it's just Sister Tamara and I here, and nobody is over here working the camera that's actually giving us Facebook, I'm going to have to get up and go over there and physically shut the camera off. So, I will leave the screen. But what I'd like to do...
Just go ahead and close out.
No, I'm going to do that. So what I'd like to do is, again, let us know what you think about our new song. Like I said, it's in the rough. I want her to play it.
I want to play it again.
I want to, the song, like I said, my spiritual daughter, Maisha Brown in Atlanta, who wrote and sings the song Reawakening Minds. We asked her, and in a day, she wrote this in a day for us, like about a month or two. Was it in August? She wrote it in August, whenever we went away.
It was August.
In August.
It was
She
August.
wrote the song within like 2 days of us asking her to, but it's still in the rough because she wants to have music to it, but she sent us the rough, and you know how we are. We just play it just because. So we want to play.
We gotta close out on YouTube with it. How about that?
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to actually literally walk away from the camera here. But we are so appreciative of you being here with us. Let me go back.
All right, good evening. Lost connection.
I wonder why it would never, let's get the whole song on there.
The phone going dead.
Oh, the thing, this still won't even let me.
You can leave all this stuff like this because we're at class tomorrow. So, just turn on the speaker. Put up you all everything. I'll tell you in the car, my phone going dead. So. Did you listen in? Who is that? Oh, okay, okay. 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 Oh, that's okay. All right, then. Let me call you when I get in the car. My phone's going dead.
Who's that?
The dude here to call me. I don't know why it's not going past that.
Yeah, because it's more song, because it goes, she repeats it.
Right.
It wouldn't let me save it. It's here. You will conceive. It sounds better than the Empress. Oh. See, that's it. Why won't it play?
I don't know. I gotta get it up out of this form. You know me, I like it in the raw form.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. They played the whole thing right there, but when you put it on the thing, it cuts off. You notice that?
Mm-hmm. Let me say to. I don't know why I won't say to.
Felicia sent me the shipping costs, the cost and shipping of Zodiac's L book payment by money order is supplied to me Turkish John Hayes.
Let me see where I sent you, let me go back to what I sent you originally, Tamara. Cause I know it. Let's go way back to August. Sunday, July, no. Byard House. That's not what you're talking about, Byard House, or something else, right? You got something you sent me about Byard House.
Wisdom and policy frame, Empress of everything. United voices they reign in the glow. My message down the throne, bring gang. Tell you all the knowledge and truth. Things you could never leave, no deceive. You will believe.
Impress us. Oh,
Think you're a mezzanine, you can be. You can achieve.
impress us. That's
that. I think my phone locked and it just cut off.
okay. So we need to put the things in the batteries.
I'll break this down. I already broke that down.
You need to. Do you want to use those or not?
When you start that.
We pretty much stayed on time. Excuse me, it's Mike.
I don't know, it could be the thing up.
Huh?
I said it could be the thing too high. When you have nobody to go down there and turn the thing. Should be a mic check, but we.
So the guy came from Detroit about a month ago. He's not here.
He came home.
Yeah, he's working though. He finding some work to do and living out. I couldn't be out in the street. I guess he said as long as the weather holds.
Well, it's about to start getting cold. It don't get cold like the truck, brother, but it get cold.
Yeah, we need to probably pull that vacuum cleaner over here. You want to grab it?
I ain't doing nothing tonight. We can do that tomorrow. We get here. I have Abdullah vacuum. I have Abdullah vacuum.
Well, this is gonna be look. This is when we get this.
Yeah.